Look at the tower, someone is back. Michigan power, new attack. His name is Farmer, he is ready to black.
Ellsworth, we need to know anything, of course, and I think that it was a real incident. I'm not going to go in the big category. I think it's actually good.
Eating chips, looking at the moon. I see a spaceship, it will be landing soon. I tell you, don't skip my show afternoon. His words can be deep, a thinking lagoon. Michigan's alien, so fucking great. Remember what matters, just don't hate, create.
I'm different. So why would you look through a window unless are you that dumb? You don't know when school gets out and you're gonna bother?
Michigan's alien, so fucking great. Remember what matters, just don't hate, create.
And we are live. Hello, Farmer. How are you, man?
Cryptex, how you doing tonight, man? It's good to be here with you. I want to say thank you for that creative promo intro. I loved it, man. It was great. I'm a little red in the face from it. It's good. How you doing tonight?
Fine. Thank you. It was not my best job, man. I did it really quickly, but I'm glad you like it. Well deserved it.
Brilliant.
Sorry for yesterday. I had electrical problems during the show, so that was crap, man. But I hope today is gonna be okay.
I think today's a different day. I think we're gonna be all right.
Exactly. How's the weather there in Colorado, in Michigan? Sorry.
Well, yeah, previously Colorado. Here in Michigan, it is drab. It is dreary for days in a row. It probably like one of those horror movies you rated. It is it's something that kind of puts you on the edge of near mayhem. But we're getting through it, and at least the wet dog shit is drying up, or freezing up, I should say. You can kick them out of the way now, and you're ready to move on with your day. So overall, pretty good.
Okay, that's good, man. Happy to have you here again, man.
Always glad to be here. Always glad to be here.
Cool, man. Thank you guys in the chat for being here. So today, let's talk a little bit about the case, Delphi. I want to have your opinion about one actor or multiple actors. Do you think there was just one actor or multiple, and why?
Well, the short answer is personally. Again, I'll start just by saying I'm comfortable with the outcome of the trial. To be respectful to the family, if they're comfortable with it, I'm comfortable with it as always. Do I personally think that there was knowledge of this crime before it happened? Yeah, I do. Do I think there was possibly help during it? Indeed, I do. And do I think there was help covering it up afterwards? Abso-fucking-lutely.
Why?
And why? Okay, well, we could go into any subset of reasons. First of all, I think what you brought up last time from another creator, and I'm not going to just keep, I don't want to bring any undue heat, but this person has a little more experience, if you will, with this sort of thing in real life, and doing an entire show on no defensive wounds. The more I started thinking about that, I hadn't thought about it before you brought it up last time. Already, anybody that watches me already feels like I feel like there's some sort of conspiracy with the certain officer involved in the case. It's a fully trained lieutenant.
Mm-hmm.
And keep in mind that fully trained lieutenant. Now, they were only how many yards away was that little divot in the ground where they were found there, on the 14th? How many yards away from that moving water were they? Maybe 40, 50 yards?
Something like that.
So let's keep in mind that waterway goes through the heart of Mary Gerard Land Conservancy, a state land conservancy that is maintained by the McCain family. It's a donation by the Gerards. They're indeed related. Let's keep in mind that private driveway that BW and the family there have that go through there, a former public thoroughfare, goes through the land of that conservancy also. And if they would have been found in that waterway, that lieutenant would have been in charge in the investigation. They would have had full jurisdiction, in my opinion. Now, I don't know that for sure, but that is absolutely their jurisdiction. So without FBI or federal involvement, there are jurisdictions for a reason. So keep that in mind. He's not, when we talk about somebody just getting off, and saying, well, that's just a fish and game person who forgot how to do their job. Keep in mind that position requires Police Academy Training 101 at the state level, and that is also a federally designated position within a state land conservancy. But I'll move on from that. I don't know if that indicates involvement on anyone else's part. Now, moving on, though, I mean, it's some of the same stuff that we have gone over before. I mean, when you have somebody in 2 years after a investigation has started, based on one person's testimony, eyewitness, let's say, who actually gave their witness testimony first, and whose sketch was actually drawn first, not the composite that was released first, BB. When there's sort of some missing time involved in a bathroom incident, and you have basically the entire trajectory of the investigation change based on one person's eyewitness testimony. Now, keep in mind, what's the one thing that Libby's older sister Kelsey said in the radio interview that she gave publicly at her alma mater? She said, when asked what her biggest regret was of that day, she said in 2021, 2 years after the 2019 changing direction presser, that not paying attention to that black truck and the details of that were her biggest regret. My question is, now, it seemed to me, Carter was awful close with Kelsey, it seemed, in those videos, that they professionally did. Why would you let someone in the family toil away for 2 years after that, knowing that the eyewitness drove that black truck? It raises a lot of questions to me. And then you have the prosecution witness, SC, who suddenly says, instead of driving 35 as she witnessed RA, that she was driving 65 but didn't want to get in trouble, so she said 35. When you're on a 2-lane curved road like we are around here in Michigan and down there in Indiana and Amish country, and you're going around a curve and you're looking at somebody and you add 30 miles to what you're doing, I now have to fucking question your eyewitness testimony. Cryptex, go ahead, please.
Yeah, good points, man. Good points. And I have a list.
Drinking out of Corel today. You can never go wrong with Corel.
You can never go wrong with Farmer.
That's ridiculous, but go ahead.
So me too. I think there are multiple actors here in this case. I did a quick list of different elements that points to multiple actors. And I know that every single element can be challenged, but when you see the whole thing as a totality, to me, it's hard to think that there was just one person. So maybe I'm gonna be a little bit repetitive as well, because I said some of this stuff in my previous life, but just in case. So one element here is, and this is ironically, the Richard Allen confession, when he said that I committed the crime by myself. Nobody else was with me committing that crime. To me, this is forced. It's a weird statement. It's just a way to say the opposite, Actually, to me, that points to another person. You had a good point there. The lack of defensive wounds, no defensive injuries. This is weird. True Crime Web, Steve, he did a whole show about that. Guys,
Right.
you can go check that. That live was awesome, and we
I also
cannot.
don't want to bring, but Cryptex, I also don't want to bring undue heat on Mr. Steve by saying over and over, though, he said, this one time. I think he likes to pose different theories like everybody else does too,
Yeah, 100%.
But I take it, I don't just take what he says with a grain of salt like I may some people. So go ahead with your point. I apologize for interrupting.
No problem. It's just that we know about the experience of Steve, and I think that was a really interesting show, and he asked a lot of questions during that show related to defensive injuries. So it's really interesting, and we can go deeper in this element later, Farmer.
Okay.
It was said that there were two different type of weapons. So to me, that points to more than one person. Why are you gonna kill two girls with different type of weapons, or why are you gonna have two weapons if you are gonna commit a crime?
Wait, can I clarify something? Are you saying that they said they were killed with two types of weapons, or that the killer potentially had two types of lethal weapons? Just to clarify,
The two different weapons were used to commit the crimes.
And was that just two different types of bladed weapons then?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
We can go later in the chat. Maybe the guys they know better, but that's what I understand. Okay. Also, the disposition of the bodies. I know that this could be far fetched, but the way Libby was disposed versus the way Abby was disposed, the lack of drug marks, the Keegan Klein confession at the Grissom Air Force Base, the geographical location of the whole area, which is perfect for an abduction, the situation with the earphone connection. To me, that's really weird. I know that we talk about the moisture and other stuff, but it's really weird. Law enforcement, they Carter and other guys talking about multiple actors, talking about tentacles at one point of the investigation, the Anthony Shots account. So, and I can continue. There's a lot of things.
Well, I mean, and I think to end that note, just if you're running that string off, the prosecutor before the entire process started, shutting it all down and saying literally saying we think there are other people involved. But go ahead.
Exactly. No, that's my point. So that being said, do you think today we have Richard Allen convicted for the crimes? Mm-hmm. He was charged as the kidnapper and the murderer, the killer.
Mm-hmm. Right.
In your opinion, if there are other actors, do you think that law enforcement is gonna go after those guys, or this is a case closed for law enforcement and that's it?
No. Well, you have to. That butter knife cuts both ways, because it depends on how deep you want to go down the rabbit hole of why those people weren't arrested in the first place. That can involve conspiracy. And so if you want to put that aside and say, would they remain looking for other actors with no conspiracy involved? I think absolutely. Why not? I mean, I think this case is, I wouldn't call it active, but I would call it topical, both in the media, both locally, regionally, maybe not as much nationwide now that the trial is over, but I don't think it's lost any interest regionally by any means.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't see that. Really, I mean, what I fear, and I hope we're not adding to that, and I want to be aware of that as we move along through the process, that we're not adding to a furor or a fever pitch of calling for other people to be guilty when I'm comfortable with RA being found guilty. I feel like he was a sexual predator, in my opinion, from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone that puts themselves there at the time in the clothes on the bridge with a day off from work, well, after 61, confessions, I'm okay with that. My only question is, are others involved? It doesn't have to go that way. it doesn't. Hi, bossy. It's good to see you. It doesn't have to go that way, but I will say that it still doesn't feel settled to me. So whatever that means, we can move on from there and maybe hit another point. But I kind of lost my own train of thought there.
Yeah, me too. I feel the same. And I don't think they're gonna go after any other actor for law enforcement. In my opinion, is done.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. They're not gonna.
I mean, you don't think Holman's a go-getter?
No.
I'm sorry.
Holman is drinking his bottle of champagne since the day of the conviction.
Right. That's just the word donut hole, man, in front of it. I got you. I don't know much about him down there. I'm not impressed. Honestly, the detective or sergeant that took care of my own personal case when I was a kid was a homicide detective. His name was Sergeant Gomes out of the Wayland Police Post, and he had an over 80% solve rate personally for his homicides. That's impressive. Whatever they got going on down there is not, and they had a whole team of motherfucking people. So excuse the language, but it's frustrating when you start adding up missing confessions and missing videos. That one thing I wanted to tell you, though, I don't know if it's relevant or not. I just thought it was noteworthy about that Marathon gas station that it was in the first round from the research I did to have a Bitcoin ATM machine in the country. Yeah. Like in the first, there are thousands of them now, apparently. But I read the whole story of how they started. One of them started either in a bar in Oregon or Texas. I don't remember which. Got shut down by the federal government, forced it to be legislated, in Congress. And then they set regulations for it, and they were able to then go on and have some. And that was one of the first places that received a Bitcoin ATM. And I often thought, well, it's anonymous, much like that Yellow app. Why do you come out 7 or 10 days after an Anthony Shots announcement just to highlight one social media app when you highlighted 6 of them in the first initial announcement? What designates that to be special? I'm not the only person out there with this thought or idea, and it's not original to my head. But it does make me wonder, is it something about the anonymous features of it? Is it something about the ability to gather 10 or 12 people in a room anonymously, pay money into a Dropbox and watch a movie of sorts? Is it more that it's out of the country and just damn hard to get information on, because France doesn't give up information on their companies willingly to American agents of law enforcement? France has way more asshole-ish pride than that. Trust me, I read all about them. Okay.
No, good point. You're right. I think Yubo or Yellow, it was a French company. And remember that Carter, he went to France.
Well, you know what? I was talking to I think maybe Sleuth may have brought it up. I could be maybe wrong on that, but when he said we've been around the world, maybe he just meant we sent like police warrants around the world. Because remember, he didn't just say with France. He's like, we've been here and there, like basically they've been on the Love Boat, and they've been just driving them all over the place, But maybe it wasn't like that. Maybe it was more that their investigative arm has been around the world. So I just don't want that to get out of hand either. And I want to make sure that we're not going willy-nilly with things just because the trial's over. I still think it's important to keep the same standards in terms of not offending the family or calling people out surreptitiously. But go ahead, Cryptex.
No, that's a good point. And I think that window was never closed. The Yubo and the Yellow application, that investigation, we never knew what happened at the end. Did they find something connecting
right
Anthony Shots to the crimes or not? I don't know.
Well, my theory and part of the DF theory, and I'm not going to go on about that. It's not a private plug for me. Was that he wasn't looking at stock quotes. He was looking at dots on a screen, tracking them in real time through the Yellow Yubo app, which was connected to Snapchat at the time and owned by Snapchat. And if you were in the friend circle of the Snapchat, you could track people in real time without their knowledge if that setting wasn't turned off on their phone. That's what I was worried about, to be honest with you.
100%. So now that we were talking about the clients, I think I can feel that, in your opinion, the clients were connected to the crime, or there are potentially one of the actors we are talking about here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I mean, absolutely. I mean, do I think if there is other involvement? I mean, why not just first of all, if creating a nexus and admitting you were there is indicative of guilt, well, then Keegan should be in prison, and for at least on his part for admitting he was there while his dad and someone else murdered them, because that's what he said. That's a confession.
Mm-hmm.
If he said that at Grisham Air Force Base, hello. That would be
Exactly.
under oath. That would be away from the jail, not to a jailhouse roommate. That would
Mm-hmm.
be to the authorities on a federal Air Force base.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's one of the things that, to me, is a clear indication of the Anthony shots, for sure, as you said. The Anthony
Right.
Shots account is a direct connection, in my opinion. The Keegan Klein confessions, the sequence of events after the confessions, the Wabash River search, the arrest of Richard Allen.
Hey,
What
Boston.
the Marathon gas station bothers me a lot. The fact
Right. Yeah.
that the recording was lost. We don't know what was there. The
I
clients,
mean,
the
we can go.
victims, other actors. We're gonna never know. It's a big piece of evidence that is not here. It
That's
was.
not even. Do you remember the more wild rumors about that Marathon gas station? Honestly, first of all, a couple things. According to rumor, it was called Shell on the Hill. If I can have a local confirm that, if we have one in chat, at some point before it was sold off to Marathon, and that the owners of that are locals who ran with Keegan Klein and his crew. Now, why would you need to Google what that location if you used to hang with the son of the owner? How many free Gatorades did your fat ass? Sorry, I wasn't gonna fat shame, and that's not right. Your greasy ass get from that Shell on the Hill with that Bitcoin ATM. Why do you need to Google the location? Who was using your phone?
Mhm. Totally agree. I don't know, man. I just wonder what was in that recording. The clients, the victims, the girls, other actor.
Well,
It bothers me a lot. Anyways, but it's not there.
yeah, and again, I've heard things as crazy as people that work there suddenly like passing away
Yeah, that's really weird.
with some kind of receipt in hand and some shit, but that's total off the wall stuff, and I don't even want to get off. I'm not, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
people die.
a couple years past the Bruce, never mind, man. Move on, dude.
No problem.
Bruce McGuire phase of this process, anyways.
Yeah, I know. What about
Love you,
this?
Bruce. I do love you.
What about the ski mask incident? You did a whole show in the with what's the name of this guy? Aspen.
Aspen Cotter.
Yeah, Aspen Connor.
Yeah, Aspen Cotter. If anybody knows what the Freedom Bridge is, of course, his family donated that. That's public knowledge.
His family.
Yeah, I mean he's Aspen. Yeah, I mean he's like a historical family in those state. I don't know if it's the same state or anything. It might be a different state, but anyways, a very historical family. Yes, very notable family, and they donated that bridge to the Delphi area. Yeah,
I didn't know that. Interesting.
yeah.
Wow, that's breaking news here, guys.
Well, I don't think it's breaking news. He announced it on his own show, so I don't want to. I didn't give that up. I swear.
Great, and tell us about the whole ski mask incident, Farmer. You did
Well, I wasn't there. I mean, but what I heard was the same thing everybody heard. That days after a double murder, a double homicide, grisly double homicide, that the place that Libby had to sleep over,
mm-hmm.
the girl that lived there invited Anthony Schott's profile over because the parents weren't there for a possible romantic interlude.
Mm-hmm.
And upon coming home, supposedly on the public school bus, I don't know if it's a short one or a long one, she saw someone peeking in her window with a mask on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also public record that Keegan Klein's phone searched people at that house,
Mm-hmm.
and their social media accounts. So, a couple things with that, like it again, I said in that show, I said, well, if you're going to risk going to jail for the rest of your life, how do you not know when someone's out of school? Like, how do you overlook some shit like that? That just seems so amateurish, like, and the crime is really serious, like this is not petty crime, and it could very well be related to a double homicide, or at least appear that way.
Yeah.
Now, when you factor in there that during that same interview, I didn't know what was going to come out would be revelatory information. And that information was that Ski Mask Girl herself was dating the Anthony Shots profile person named, with a letter of C, that lived as a third roommate along with friend one, DH, KK, both in Vegas and in Peru, Indiana. And that they had a romantic relationship up and through and after both of those incidents. And it always made me wonder, did someone besides just a fluffy little sleepover for the weekend get introduced to somebody like that? Or was it something more nefarious right off the bat? Introduce her to him. We need to do this. Was it more planned? Was it premeditated? These are details I want to know. I don't understand where'd the metadata go? Can't somebody call the friggin' NSA or something? I mean, why can't we see what these people and who they were communicating with, on their phones and on their internet servers? I don't get it. But go ahead, Cryptex. I'll stop now because it just goes off into la la land at some point.
No, excellent. No, I agree. What are the odds? To me, it's really impossible that the clients are not connected. But it's just maybe I'm biased, but I cannot dissociate the clients from the crime. Talking about the ski mask incident, some people say that it actually didn't happen, that it was like a fabrication. Did you hear something about that? Do you know something about it?
Well, I mean, only that people that are really great at getting documents, FOIAing documents, Frankmeister, for example. I mean, these guys know how to get what they want when it comes to documents, and nobody can find anything in terms of a police report from Galveston on this incident. However, it was, if you watch that clip, reported on the news as a real incident. So is it because the people were underage? Is that somehow tucked away in a place where it's private information, or was it just something put out in the media to stir interest in possibly a fake kind of psyop situation to scare out a perp? I have no idea still to this point, and I don't think any of those questions got answered in court.
Yeah, 100%.
Not that had anything to do with Rick Allen per se, and if it didn't, there's no reason to bring that up in court. But again, no one's answered those questions at all. We still don't know.
Let's say, just for the sake of the discussion, that the clients were actually involved. Why do you think that Richard Allen didn't say anything about the clients? What would be the explanation for that?
Wow. Now that's hard to speculate on, in my opinion, because right, like, what would the motivation be at that point? Wouldn't you be bitter that you're serving out a sentence that you feel others were involved in? Also, it seems like he would be ready to just rat them right out. I wish he would if there were others involved, but what would the motivation be? Were there previous threats against people in his life that he cares immensely about? If he's only willing to say that he feels bad for one victim and then claim in the same breath to say that he found God, this isn't someone I'm finding stable right off. Not just stable, but I don't trust his moral judgment in any way besides the murder, if we didn't know that shit. But you can't even, you can't say you found God and say you only. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So this guy, I just don't believe anything he really says either. But I feel like he's involved. I feel like they definitely got somebody involved. Why he wouldn't rat somebody out? Again, I'd think it'd come down to basic threats against people he considers important because he's a selfish asshole.
It is. That's one potential explanation, but I think that if he rats on the clients, he's admitting his own culpability, you know. So it was not a good move for him. So why would he rat on the clients? You know, he's gonna do a harakiri, right?
Yeah, it's hard to. I have a hard time thinking like one of these people would think, but that's really actually kind of makes sense, Cryptex. You're right. If he goes, well, they did it too. Well, then he is de facto admitting that he did it. Maybe after the appeals process, it'll be a different story if he is denied any, you know what I mean? If he's reaffirmed to be guilty during that process, maybe he'll rethink things a little bit. Maybe it's a combination of both. I doubt there's any kind of weird loyalty there. I don't see any kind of loyalty that where you take the rap for something like this, man, without, just letting it all out at that point. You're already where you're going to be the rest of your life. And hopefully your seat gets a lot hotter with a lot more voltage before it's over. Asshole.
Yeah, good point. What about going to the chat a little bit, Farmer?
Okay, let's do it. I'll put me something up there. We got Big Fish Small Pond says, hi, sorry about my shrooming incident, Cryptex.
That's not long.
Rude. I'm not sure. Was it morel season? Did I miss it?
That's a long story, man. I'm gonna tell you about that
off camera.
But it was really funny.
We sounds very spiritual. Melissa Wildcard. Hey, Melissa, how are you doing? It's always good to see you around. Always.
So, Brosa
says, two big fish. I went out and picked some last weekend, Oregon coast. I'm not even gonna assertions. I think I don't know. That's not a Michigan mushroom, I don't think. So I don't know about that.
I think they're talking about mushrooms.
Yeah, no, I gathered. Small Fish Big Pond says both of our shirts are cool. Thanks. I got mine at Goodwill. I'm just a huge Linda Carter fan, you know.
You look like Rob Zombie, man. No, you look cool.
I look I do look like either that or an overweight Joe Dirt. Maybe a poor kid Rock. But I don't let that identify me, you know. Here we go. Cindy says, hey guys, work soon, but gonna hang out for a bit, and we always appreciate anybody spending even 5 minutes of their valuable time, because time's all we have. So thank you. RC99, hi all, hi back to you. Cindy Lean says, have you guys seen the movie Copycat? I think that was Robin Williams, this older movie, just watched it again, hadn't seen it in a long while. That is where there's that photo mat, Copycat, photo mat. I don't remember, but
no, it was not Robin Williams. What's the name of this girl? Sigourney Weaver, I think so.
Sigourney Weaver, you said?
I think. Anyway,
it was
a really good movie, man.
I don't remember it. Ethan Johnson says, yo, bro, there's a spider on your head to the right. Is it which one? Because I'm really arachnophobe. Like, I'll scream if there's a spider on me. So please don't I'll have a heart attack, man. Like, I have a weak heart. Also, I almost had a double hernia when I was a baby, and the doctor said if I get any stress, one could just blow right out. I don't need it.
I think he's talking about mushrooms too. Or he's on mushrooms.
Oh my God, I hate spiders. If someone sees a spider on me, please indicate that in chat. Okay, Big Fish Small Pond says, yes, very close, Carter and Kelsey. He came to her house for an interview, for Christ's sakes. That was interesting, huh? I agree. Odd that he wouldn't mention the fact that he could have alleviated 2 years of her most stressed out moment of that entire day. He could have alleviated by saying, hey, that's a witness. Don't worry about it. Why was that not taking place? Let's move on. Sub Rosa, can't go wrong with Cryptex and Farmer. Well, that's debatable. Even when I disagree, I like to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you, Sub Rosa. It's always good to see you around. Hi, Shay Watson, by the way. Hey, I see you there. RC99 says the lone nut angle is way too convenient. It just seems like, I mean, I agree with you, but it does seem like at some point something else will come out. I mean, there's been a million other angles, but like uncooked spaghetti, it doesn't stick to anything. Go ahead, Cryptex.
100%.
Big Fish Small Pond says, so the black car was the Fitbit witness. I think it was a black truck. I think it had stickers on the back window.
Yeah, the one with the stickers. Yeah,
and that's what her sister was referring to. I mean, I feel terrible for her to have to first of all be tormented, even having a worse moment or guilt from that day. I can't imagine. This was I won't say it's a rite of passage, but folks, let's admit it. You can't just say I wouldn't let my kids go down there. Well, everyone else did. That's where people hung out. And when you got a little bit older, that's where you crossed the bridge and probably got stoned when you got a little bit older and probably did other things when you got a little bit older. I mean, you guys want to be realistic or you want to keep bullshitting around about it?
Mm-hmm.
That was a hangout spot.
It was.
I know what a hangout spot, is because when I was a teenager, we had those around here.
And there's an army of social media creators that are gonna be forever after Kelsey talking about that stuff.
Yeah, but I'm not going to pinpoint her for that. Jesus Christ, she was being honest about the worst point of her day. My question is for Ellie and saying, why would you let her toil in the wind for 2 years after that 2019 presser, knowing that that's your main witness for Young Bridge Guy sketch? Okay, RC99 with the big watermelon slice says the 4 a.m. ping as well. The 2 a.m. screams, the earphone piece. I mean, we hear you. We hear you. We got our headphone piece in because some bullshit.
That's a good point. The 2 a.m. screams. I don't know if the police actually did some type of investigation. That's and I think there were 2 houses reporting those screams at 2 a.m.
I can't say definitively on that, so I wouldn't. I'm not going to sign my name to that because I just don't know for sure. But if that's the case, then yeah, it just goes into the odd pile, and that's certainly not a small pile. I don't think at this point. So to put something else on it, no big deal. I mean, it's a big deal, but it's just has to go there for right now.
Correct.
I think the headphone jack. Sub Rosa says, I think the headphone jack thing is a nothing burger. I mean, I certainly hope that you're right. I hope it was cycle related or weather related or update related or something besides a hard piece of equipment going, into the phone or some crazy stuff like that. Because if they can tell that, that's disturbing to me if it's happening at 2 a.m. after no one's supposed to be around them after they passed away.
My problem there is that law enforcement didn't care to do a proper investigation about that. Maybe there's an explanation, as you say, but you have to investigate that shit, man.
Yeah, well, and not to consider then right off the bat the sticks as evidence, like I said, and I'm not saying or asserting it has anything to do with Odinism, but what did it have to do with? Why was it like it was? You can't determine those things if you're not saving things for evidence in general in the first place, in my opinion, properly.
Exactly. Oh, man. Day Tripper says, hi, Farmer. Hi, chat.
Welcome. The type of headphone issue doesn't resolve itself. Or that type of headphone issue doesn't resolve itself. Yeah, I just don't know enough about phone, I just don't know enough about the science of that to comment. I just would be ignorant on it.
Yeah, that's the problem. A lot of people is ignorant about that, but they act as if they are experts. And the problem is that we don't have any answer because of the poor job that law enforcement did. Bossy is working and listening to Farmer and Cryptex.
Well, it's very nice to have Bossy here, and it's always good to see Bossy. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Bossy.
Yeah, is Bossy is awesome, man. She has a lot of knowledge.
Indeed.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. If anybody's knowledgeable on this case, I'd put Bossy's info right up there for sure.
Sub Rosa.
Oh, sorry about that. I was fading again. Sub Rosa says I had an old iPhone that thought headphones were connected when it got wet or dirt in the headphone jack. New iPhones don't have headphone jacks, and I think that's a valid point. If again, the science determined that. Now, I don't know. To me, it's like, how could they even tell if there was something in there? So maybe that was it. That makes sense to me. I can let that go. I mean, I think there are enough other anomalies in this case that I wouldn't get hung up on one detail. And for that matter, it still doesn't mean that there was definitely someone else involved at the end of the day. If we can't ever make that connection at some point, guys, well, Sub Rosa, according to the information that I researched, I'll give you this, though. I'm not a natural researcher, but I did look into it, and I sort of looked at the history of Bitcoin ATMs, and I just noted, I mean, that marathon definitely had one at some point. I did note that because it said Delphi Marathon, unless there's another marathon in the area that maybe had it. And I called them, but the clerk didn't act like he knew what I was talking about. Watch that clerk.
This is a good point from Todd.
Todd says, and Todd was with us the last time, of course, I'm sorry. Shit. If there was another person with Richard, then why would they let him walk down 300 North back to his car on a sunny day and risk being seen caught? That would get everyone caught. Proves he was alone. Agree? I'll say that it proves a good point that he could have been alone. I'll agree with that, Todd. But to flat out say it proves he was alone, agree? That sounds a bit like a trick question to me, and I'm not going to fall for that. Thanks, though, for the effort.
Maybe it was because of the size of Keegan and Tony. They were too big. No space for Richard Allen in that car.
I will say, though, Todd, I agree with your premise that it does point to that he would be alone at that point.
Or maybe there was an argument. Let's say if Richard Allen didn't want to kill a girl and Tony Klein just killed, it could be an argument.
I'm not going to steal this from Sleuth. I'm going to give him full credit, but I agreed right from. I saw a bitch smack. I saw somebody racking out that shell that was in the gun, going, "You're just not handling yourself well enough. You're being, you're going crazy." Maybe he couldn't handle the scene, and bam, he gets, and they racked the shell out, saying, basically, you're unloaded. You're not worthy of having a loaded gun right now, even. And maybe in that process, then he just starts walking out of there. I have no idea, but that was always as plausible before it all sort of broke down in trial to me, and the evidence was more known as a hypothesis. I'm certainly not saying that's what happened, but he wasn't a big tough guy,
Yeah, I agree. Boston Christian.
Hey, Boston is always good to see. I'm really glad to see Boston Christian here, and Don Spain, and Cindy Lean, and some of these folks I haven't seen in a little while. I miss all of them dramatically,
100%, man.
Day Tripper says to Sub Rosa, I wonder if that ATM could have been a meeting spot for people to exchange crypto cash for, who knows what exactly. Again, I kind of thought, but then again, I mean, to some degree, they're federal, regulated. And, I don't know how deep that goes. I don't know how easy it is to be anonymous on that stuff. So to just raise a red flag and leave it there is probably a bit of a false red flag. But I did find it curious that small towns and little, if you want to say, it seemed like there were a lot of red dots over that area that were associated with criminal sexual conduct charges across the country. And for there to be a Bitcoin, ATM there early on, certainly to me feeds into some sort of anonymity, at least up to a certain amount of cash, maybe different way than what a normal ATM would be.
Mm-hmm. Is Bitcoin untraceable? You cannot trace Bitcoin, right? I don't know anything about that.
I don't know the ins and outs of that, and I'd be ignorant on speaking to it. But I do know it's supposed to be more whatever blockchain, that's the whole idea, is that, puts the power in the hands of the small person, anonymity. I mean, all those things were, I thought, included in the sort of model of what all those cryptocurrencies were supposed to be at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, like more anonymous, let's say.
Sure.
So, bro.
Yeah. So Brosa says local law enforcement blamed the FBI for the gas station footage mishap. The FBI denied that they messed it up. Very interesting.
Yeah, they were blaming.
I agree. That's very, very interesting. If they had possession of it and it's no longer around, I'm not sure whose fault it is then. I mean, who took custody of that hard evidence? Whoever had that in the custody chain is the one responsible for it. And if something happened between there and getting that information extracted from there, they're fully responsible, in my opinion. Wherever that may lie. I don't know the answer to the question either, but I'm saying just, commonsensically speaking, whoever had that in their custody chain would be responsible for it.
Yeah. Another unanswered question.
Debbie says 2 very cool guys somewhere. I don't know. Are they around here somewhere? I don't know.
And a very cool chat we have, Farmer, right?
We do. Do we? It's been hard to kind of pay attention tonight. I've sort of been a little drifty. I'm super tired tonight. I got up way early for a showing, which is different than a viewing. I learned viewings for a funeral, showings for when you're selling your house. That's always good to know those little things when you're selling a house and not having a funeral.
Yeah, no, I agree, man.
But it was early, and I have to get out of here for like an hour and let people peruse through my place and take my dogs and schlep them out of here, And I don't even have a vehicle that works. Fortunately, my sister is in town with her Lexus.
Yeah, the agents they don't like the owner to be in the house during the visits, right?
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, because well, first of all, I don't even have anything in the house. I mean, I totally clean it up. Nothing on the counters. I start a load of laundry because everyone loves that familiar dryer smell, in my opinion. That's my touch. I don't like spraying a bunch of chemicals around. I mean, I've repainted every room with at least 3 coats of paint, and I bleached everything before I did to get rid of any cigarette smell or animal smell. It's very fresh. It's very clean. It's up publicly listed here in Kalamazoo, Michigan at 1608 Jefferson Avenue, Kalamazoo, Michigan 49006. Now, I'd like to remind folks that here in the city limits where I'm at, if your children go to public school here, they do get 4-year university for free, and that includes dorm, books, meals, and the full ride education as long as they qualify. And that's Western Michigan University right here in town, folks. They don't even have to go far.
You are an excellent salesman, man. Excellent. I hope it's going to be sold soon, Farmer.
What's that?
I hope it's going to be sold very soon.
Yeah, I do too, because, like I said, at some point it becomes oppressive.
Yeah, I know. Stay positive, man. It's going to happen.
I'm trying.
Let's continue with the comments.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's go. RC99 says, I want you to know why the FBI needed to be kicked off the case for them to solve it. Or I want to know why, rather. Well, and it's something else, RC99, I kind of want to know. I was under the impression if it was an internet crime, that automatically implicated interstate crimes, because the internet obviously is a worldwide web. And so doesn't that theoretically automatically involve the FBI if they so choose? I mean, I'd like an answer on that. And now you're talking about Anthony Shots and all this being involved. They would have had every right at the time to push their weight around if they wanted. Why is that office in Indianapolis and Mr. Carter, why are they so close? Why do things just sort of slip by? I'm not going to go much further because my Arlo subscription's out and I don't have the proof right now. So
yeah, I
don't get whacked.
Those agencies are very territorial, let's say. They want to have the full credit for solving the case. And but when you think about the FBI with all the resources they have to do testing, and man, it's sad that
put up Todd's comment. Hey, Phil Bond, how you doing? Nice to see you. Put up Todd's comment if you can, please. Starts with given how RA minimized. Yeah, there you go. Todd says, given R.A. minimized his actions when confessing, if others were there, he would do that to downplay his part. It was the other guy who made me do it. It wasn't my idea. I didn't want to, but he didn't. I mean, all fair, Todd, if you're in the head of a, killer. I mean, because I still say that people act differently and unpredictably sometimes in all situations. I just can't put any finger on it like that. But again, very plausible. Steve from True Crime Web, thank you, first of all, for being here, Steve. It's always an honor. If he admits complicity to crime with anyone, he admits involvement. And someone said that earlier. Actually, I think that was Cryptex who said that, my co-host for the night here. And that's a real valid point. Thank you, Mr. Steve.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Good point. Let's continue here. Carla Ann.
Yeah, Carla Ann, critical thinking. Why it's just coming out now? Question mark. Was that connection so hard to find? Not sure which one you're talking about, but apparently for some folks, it is hard to find those connections.
Yeah, we have the answer for the copycat movie. It was Sigourney Weaver.
And Holly Hunter. Let's not forget Holly Hunter, who is a wonderful actress from the mid-'80s. Mommy Wolverine says, okay, she's got to be from Michigan. Derek, I was born, well, okay. Well, we were born in the same hospital, so I guess we must be from the same state. Good that you're here, Mommy Wolverine. And, if you were born in the baby unit over there off of Walnut like I was, then you know what I'm talking about.
She says that people don't seem to understand what a safe town Delphi was at that time.
Oh no, I think people do understand. I think people understand because they can apply it to their own small town existence and even a bigger town existence, because there was a time in that's talked about in our history, maybe we don't remember it, where you could leave a front door unlocked by accident and not have to worry that someone would chop your family up or something. But that's not this time anymore. I recommend to my liberal friends that they learn how to use a weapon to defend themselves, and that they train themselves properly. And if they want to deprive manufacturers of that money to buy a good used weapon on the market, thank you.
You are being
Sub Rosa says Farmer is guilty of Googling the Marathon gas station now too. I was a couple years ago too. Yeah, I even called him. Like I said, I talked to the clerk. The poor kid was probably cleaning up a mess in the bathroom at the time, and I'm bugging him about a Bitcoin ATM. He's probably like, asshole, get off the phone. Simdal says maybe some exited through the graveyard, not convinced he was alone still. And, I haven't been on the ground there. Once I get portable here in the cargo van with the Musk net, I will be portable, and I am definitely going to stop down there. I'd like to walk down to that bridge myself. After all of this, I sure would. And I've looked at it. I'm pretty good at looking at geographic locations on maps, both in terms of levels, water levels. I know how to read that stuff. I'm not thinking it was too hard of a hike out of there for anybody in relatively decent shape.
Good point.
My opinion, but I haven't been there.
We have to go together, Farmer.
We should. Absolutely. Queso Wary says it's interesting that people still try to figure out the events of 2/13/27 after the trial. Are you not convinced by the state theory? I mean, simple answer is well, for Cryptex is no. I'm comfortable with the state answers for the state theory. It's not going to drive me crazy or insane, but these questions about what involvement maybe some other people had, like I said, in terms of at least premeditatively planning and or helping cover this up, still remain with me. And while it's relevant, while people are talking about it, again, I don't want to feed back into a super loop of information bullshit where we're just feeding ourselves like a sort of tapeworm, ass to mouth situation, excuse my language, because that becomes ridiculous. That happens already in the actual news cycle. And I think if we're going to move on from the mistakes that they make on a daily basis, we should consider how and when we do cover cases like this when they're resolved. And I think, Casso, to that point, I think you do have a point.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Good point, Farmer. I agree with you in terms of the conviction of Allen, because in my opinion he was involved, but I think there are other actors, so that's why I'm not convinced by the state theory. Just to answer to Casey. Fair maiden wins before the harvester camera could be a consideration. Yeah, I don't know what was captured by that camera. Do we know that? I don't know.
Well, I mean, theoretically, what was captured was his car going by at certain times and certain cars going by, which helps any timeline when you're putting together. In fact, Mr. Steve could correct me if he's still here, but timeline is basically how typically crimes are put together. I mean, rarely do you have such direct evidence, I think, that ties someone so definitively to a crime that you don't need to have something in a timeline.
Yeah, but I think the comment for the harvest store camera was not related to the car, but rather to Richard Allen potentially walking behind the harvest store.
Well,
I don't know. It was, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. I would wait for an answer in chat on that. Nana73, always so incredibly generous. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nana. I appreciate it.
Simdal, audio sounds good here. Thanks for that audio check. Appreciate it. Todd will be putting up a comment. Mommy Wolverine says, even now, it is still hard for me to let go of the KK connection. Well, I mean, considering where he's at for what kind of crimes he did and the emphasis that was put on that information at the time, it's hard for a lot of us to let it go. I think that's natural. And I think that having those feelings and those emotions are nothing to be ashamed of. I think it's okay to question. I think it's just wrong when we start calling other situations and outcomes to be full on lies and things like that. I don't think that's healthy for the process, but go ahead. Hather Mears, good to see you for sure. Hello, Cryptex. Hey, Farmer, long time no see. Indeed. Hey, chat, good to see you. Good. I'm really glad you're here. Lily Shaw, I'm going back to listen on 2 times speed. Careful, that'll get you.
This is a great comment from Don Spain.
You want to read it? You want me to read it?
You do it.
Okay, Don Spain says, remember any connection could be on RA's missing phone and KK's phone that he cleared data from. I mean, good point. Remember, the phone was turned in 2 days after the search, at least 2 days, if not more. Point noted, Don. Thanks for throwing more reason on here to really still kind of stay on talking about it occasionally anyways.
What a great comment, huh? Thank you, Don.
Sure. A good observation. Yeah. Let's see. Linda K. Johnson says, hi guys. It's funny because where I live in New Zealand, we only lock our door if we leave the house. Probably too complacent, but nothing's ever happened. Well, that's because they haven't pointed the earthquake gun on you in a while from Antarctica. Just ask Christchurch. Google it. Mr. Mo says, how can anyone slash 2 people all by himself? I've never tried. I have no idea.
Well, it is possible, and there are multiple cases, but you're going to have defensive injuries. Potential explanations, chloroform, I don't know. It's unlikely, but it is possible. And I remember the Zodiac killer when he was killing couples near to rivers, let's say. Mm-hmm. He was walking with kill kit, right? And he had like tie wraps, he had knives, and he had a gun. This is a similarity to the Delphi's case. He was acting with gun and knives at the same time. So he was controlling the couple with the gun.
But let me ask you something. What if you have so many weapons, not necessarily even to control your victims, but for any other things to arise? Let's say an outside male who just happens to be out there on his own, who happens to have his own weapon and isn't cool with you, say, murdering 2 innocent girls. Maybe that's why you have that extra weapon, for a backup just in case, Okay, you got to remember, people do shit for different reasons, And you're right, you don't need a gun to control 2 people necessarily. Makes it easier, I would assume.
Yeah, for sure. I think the gun was.
I know Mr. Steve had a question. I don't know what it was, but we cannot let a question from him go. I refuse.
I hope.
And I know you feel the same way, so forget about it.
I hope he's still here.
Oh,
no,
I'm
but
sure.
my point is that yeah, with the gun you can just control the girls, let's say, and
Right.
this is a controlling weapon, and the
Sure.
knife was the killing weapon, let's say.
I had one in my head once. I realized that.
Yeah. Todd.
Todd says too, Don Spain, the phones, KK, the timing, those will make us wonder forever if they connected to KK to Delphi, and even Richard. How could they not be connected? But maybe just a bizarre coincidence. Again, maybe. I mean, maybe it's just one of those dozens or so. True Crime Web, that'd be Mr. Steve says, I'd be interested if the ATM at the store was one of BW's, and if he checked it on the way home and would know if it was Bitcoin. Well, I'd be real curious of that too, Mr. Steve. I'd be real damn curious of that.
That's really interesting.
No way of telling, but I mean, I'm curious. I'm even more curious by your curiousness, but we could talk about that some other time.
Yeah, me too. Interesting comment. And talking about ATMs, I wonder if there's some way to trace the data of those ATMs on the day of the murders to confirm if Brad Weber was doing some type of maintenance before the murders. I don't
First
know.
of all, these first, I believe, came into play back in maybe 2012. So whether or not there was a Bitcoin ATM there at the time of the murders, I'm not prepared to say that, but I am prepared to say through my research, at one point, either the Shell on the Hill or one of those marathons had a Bitcoin ATM there. Now, I don't know how long it was there. I don't know how much business those things have. I've never had a Bitcoin. I don't believe in making money off money. I don't like venture capitalism. That means somebody's getting screwed in the process, and I won't do it. I don't do stocks. I don't do bonds, and I don't do Bitcoin. I buy American savings bonds. It has a big eagle on it. God bless America.
Go ahead with the comment, Farman.
Okay, Mommy Wolverine from my state here, the big mitten state, says, I mean, what would be the odds that the 2 girls were in communication with a pedo and a potential catfish? I mean, aren't those one and the same, and then wind up murdered? Well, I mean, what would be the odds? I don't know, but I don't like them. I wouldn't put all those things in soup and hope that it was tasty soup. Something's going to get fucked up, And when you got that many screwed up people going together and then throw drugs in and crap on top of it, I mean, who knows what's going to come out of that? You don't know what small town connections. We still don't know that kind of stuff. And it certainly seems to me that cynically, behind the scenes yet, it feels like that some people do know there are more connections because they've nearly bragged about it on offbeat social media sites like 4chan and things like that. So I don't know. It feels a bit cynical from time to time, too, from the people that may be local to that situation. But go ahead, Cryptex.
No, and regarding this comment, that was not the only coincidence. Let's say if that was the only one, yeah, we can say, okay, coincidences happen. But you have the disappearance of the Marathon gas station videotape. You have the arrest of Richard Allen right after the interrogation to Keegan Klein. So
$1 million river search based on a polygraph test taken at a federal Air Force base says that something that they were told indicated that he knew something, in my opinion.
Yeah, the Wabash River search was performed right away after the interrogation of Keegan Klein. So to me, they found something in that river, and
Am I crazy?
they were able to connect the information given by Keegan. That's just my theory, but okay.
Hmm.
Linda K. Johnson is talking about your friend Robert Ives, farmer.
Yeah, we were just having lunch, me and Robert. Yeah, you remember Robert Ives saying that the girls were found so immediately after they were unalived, question mark. First of all, I'm just going to use the word murdered. I hope Cryptex doesn't mind, but I find it if anyone's ever watched my channel, they know that I find it offensive of YouTube to threaten demonetization based on the word murdered when it's dealing with somebody's child. And I find it disrespectful to the family to have to say a word like unalived when that's not what happened. They were murdered.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say, do you remember Robert Ives saying the girls were found so immediately after they were murdered? Libby's blood, when found, was still pooling, still liquid. Abby had lividity in her back. No, I don't remember that. Honestly, it's been so much information for so many years that some of that early stuff I have forgotten. I really have. But
Yeah,
I should go back and look, Linda K. I think it's worth noting, and thank you for saying that.
yeah, me neither. I don't remember that. We have a critic here for you, farmer, from Lily.
Lily Shaw says, Derek Farmer, how can you say RA is a sexual predator? They found absolutely nothing on his device. I said, in my opinion, I feel like he was, because anytime you're found guilty of murdering and kidnapping two underage girls, I'm assuming that you're a sexual predator.
But it's true that they were not able to find any CSAM material on his devices, but the cell phone
That
he
is my
used.
opinion. I'm just, you know, Lily,
No, no, no,
I'm just a pizza guy in Kalamazoo, Michigan. You know, I'm just
no,
doing
but
this as a creative outlet. You know, but in my opinion, I don't understand how, unless you're just a psycho killer, and I guess that's possible too. Point noted, but I have always felt that this was a sexually motivated crime in my intuition, if you will.
and we don't have the phone that was used by Richard Allen that day, so we don't have what was on that
Right.
phone. So anyway, let me. Lily says that she's close to.
Okay. All right. I'll let you catch up. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Okay. Let me.
Yeah, Don,
Continue.
I know his phone's missing from that time. It's friggin' terrible. I hate it. Jim Wagner, the minivan YouTuber, was played by Don't Hate Create the other day. He went to the Marathon gas station, and they told him law enforcement got their footage.
Ah, really? Interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe fishy, big fish. You can tell us something about that if you show that in your channel, because the information I had is that the FBI and the Indiana State Police, they were blaming each other regarding the loss of that
I mean,
recording.
right.
But this is a great comment. If
I
we have
think
some,
Todd makes a pretty valid comment here. If you want to pull it up, I'll be happy to read it. Oh, but first we're going to have Heather say, for all we know, their communications could have been in person. Sure, people still do that. It doesn't. You're right. Mustang 65. Hello, first of all, to you, and also hello to Cryptex from you. And very good.
and he says hello
Nice
to you.
to see you. Very nice to see you. Always.
Yeah, we have Simdal from the Netherlands.
I'm conflicted. The undressing could be part of the staging as well. Motive being sexual is likely, but not set in stone. I agree. I mean, nothing I say is set in stone. In fact, nobody's destiny is set in stone. It's up to all of us to chip it away.
Yeah, right. And regarding the staging, the posing, the sticks, I think a lot about that. And today, I think that the most probable explanation, at least to me today, is that the killer was trying to prolong the time with the victims. You know, he just killed the girls. It's over. They are dead. So he wants to stay a little bit more with the girls. So maybe it was just he was just playing with the victims, staying there. I don't know. He wanted to prolong that moment, before leaving the scene.
Well, that is curious as well. I mean, that's something that kind of came out in the trial. Again, I thought that the transcripts before the trial, whatever leaked ones those were, said that this BW came putting down the driveway at around 3:15, but suddenly it's 2:28, and now that's not a small discrepancy through the heart of that state land conservancy.
Yeah, that's one of the main elements in this case that makes me crazy, man. The sticks. So don't hate create. She has the answer regarding the marathon station.
Right, it got corrupted after. Like I said last time. I mean, short of turning it into ashes and sprinkling it in the ocean, I'm not sure what else they could have done to prevent any information from being gleaned from that. Thank you, asshole.
Jamie Hicks, she says hello to you, to me.
Hi, Jamie. Jamie is Jamie's a fighter. I like fighters. I like people that fight for what they believe in, and that's Jamie Hicks, and I'm always on her side. Now, True Crime Web says, if you go by searches and research on Google engaging someone's intent, I can only imagine what the masses would think of my life search history. Well, but of course we don't do that in America, because that's exactly the reason. Because based on this sort of thing, they would probably think that I'm always eating, or you're always killing people. I mean, who knows? I mean, I'm sure you have some crazy searches, Mr. Steve, but I'm sure you have some equally crazy stories that you reserve from telling, because they're not glamorous, they're just not glamorous, unfortunately, because there always has to be a victim at the end of them, and it just is terrible. But I'm sure glad that there's somebody like you on board over here doing this.
I love the sense of humor from Steve, man. He's great. And
well,
he's right.
I felt that he had one right from the beginning. I don't know what it was. The very first show, I just said, this guy has got this guy's got more than a sense of humor. He's pissing people off somewhere, and I like that about him.
He has a sense of humor and common sense. The perfect,
oh yeah, all of that, 100%. Anyways, Anna Lizette, one of my favorites. I wonder if the offender was copycatting the crime of Thomas J. Bruce, the Catholic supply outrage in Missouri? ? No, I don't know. TJB got drunk, ordered 3 women to undress at gunpoint, shot one who said no. Sex crime, I'm guessing, ×3. I don't know the answer to that. We'll speculate.
Interesting. And what year was that? I don't remember, because I remember people talking about that in this case about Thomas Bruce. So I don't know if he was a person of interest at one point for some people, or I don't know. But yeah, it brings me some memories. And Alicette, she has excellent points, man.
I agree. I rewatched the last show that we did. I like to do that after a show. I like to rewatch it now. I don't know why. I mean, I never used to be able to stand it, but I like it now. And I think that Anna Lizette had some of the most on point points of the entire show. Heather says, and that's exactly what R.A. said he did. He killed them quickly, covered them up, spent time with them. He said it in his confessions. And Heather, no one can doubt that. That's in the public record, and he's been convicted.
Did he say that he spent time with the girls? I don't remember that.
I was just trying to avoid an argument, Cryptex. Thank you. Just for a change.
Yeah, man. Analyze it again here.
Okay, I'll read it. Sure, bring it on.
Sorry, my mouse is acting weird. Okay, analyze it.
Okay. Well, hey, Anna Lizette says, I always hope my internet record would show I have a vast curiosity, but don't wallow in depraved of subjects. No porn, except for what trolls supply. Me too.
No porn, No life.
Simdal says at Analyzette, no porn, how boring. All right, well, hey, people use the Google machine for different purposes. I do a lot of searching for aliens, but you don't want to cross those two because the pictures you get back are real odd. Sub Rosa says, agreed. At Todd, I agree with everything you're saying. Excellent points and a valuable contribution to the conversation. Sub Rosa, I agree with what you're saying about what Todd is saying.
Yeah, 100%. Excellent points, Todd. Thank you. And that's why we are here. We don't want to have unidirectional conversation. It's good to have different point of views, and Todd's comments are really good.
Todd's comments are a beacon to common sense, and I appreciate it because I get a little wild sometimes. Someone's got to keep me in check. Now, Simdal says, fortunately, 90% of my searches are phishing related, but it's that 10% that'll get you into trouble, Simdal.
Yeah, man. I don't know, Farmer. I think for today it would be enough.
Well, like I say, we always start. I always start pretty much with nothing and end with nothing. So whenever you're ready to start and whenever you're ready to end is good with me.
Let's check maybe a couple of more comments here. Okay, Annalise, she says that Thomas Bruce crime was about 2019. He was considered for Delphi. Yeah, now I remember that. So he was alive when the Delphi's murders happened.
I've never even heard this offender's name, so I would like to look it up and see what's going on with that.
Yeah, he went to a church and he kidnapped three women there. I don't remember if he killed all of them or not. He ordered them to undress, and I think he killed himself, Anna. I don't remember, or he was killed by the police. I don't remember. I think he committed suicide at that point.
Man, I just wish they would answer all the questions before they do that. Like, why did you do it? And then they can go ahead and do that and save some money for people. But I don't like it when they take all those questions with them because then everyone's left with nothing but questions.
Mm-hmm. Bogey.
Oh yeah, hey Bogey. 708 says, "What about the lady walking her dogs? Equals she been debunked or did she testify in court?" Well, it wasn't BB because she was exercising. The person that was walking their dogs, I thought was SC. No, am I wrong on that? And if so, then yes, she testified in court for the prosecution. If that's a third party, then please, someone could alert us in chat. That would be handy. And Don says, Bogey, that only came from Greeno, so I'm not sure who Greeno is or anything like that. I don't know. But Anna Lizette says, Bogey 708, the actual dog walking lady, may be a figment of a YouTuber's imagination. Lady who saw a creepy guy in mourning testified, I think. Okay, so maybe the dog walking lady was just a figment of a YouTuber's imagination. Unfortunately, that's what we want to avoid, folks, is putting out bad information over public airwaves. And believe me, these are public airwaves. Todd says, Sub Rosa, I didn't mean you. Damn it. I was saying only people who want to believe he's innocent think the phone jack theory makes any sense, which it doesn't. Agree? Well, Todd, you don't have to get everyone to agree with you as long as you feel like it's the truth.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, I disagree. And
he disagrees. I mean, he disagrees.
I think we don't have the answer because they didn't do a proper investigation about that. So maybe it was nothing, but they have to conduct an investigation to prove that it was moisture, it was humidity, it was the elements. But if they didn't do that investigation and they went to the courtroom to look into the cell phone the day of the testimony to say that was because of humidity, I disagree. I need a better answer for that.
Right. No, I think you're correct on that. Also, that I think something more definitive than moisture would be appreciated for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Lily says,
Lily says, Don Spain, it is not missing. You can download the cloud. There was no data connecting RA. No. Don Spain says also Greeno swore flannel shirt guy passed the killer on the trail, leaving. Another lie. Well, I don't know who this Greeno is, but he does not sound very credible. Now, Heather Swenson.
Come on, Farmer, you know.
Heather Swenson says, I've seen so many I've survived episodes where an offender took two victims. Two victims happens all the time. It's not a unique situation. I hope I'm emphasizing, Heather, the way you would. It's not at all a unique situation by any means, actually, jerk. And it's not.
It's not unique, but it's not...
It's not unique. Why would he acting like that's unique? That two young girls could be taken by some creepy-ass dude. That's not unique. When did that become unique?
It's not unique, but it is rare. It's atypical.
When? Who says it's rare? I don't even have that stat in front of me. Okay, Anna Lizette, I'm just going to pull out disagree with you. I think it all comes down to opportunity. When you look where Mr. Steve went to Evansville, Illinois, or wait, where's that place where Lyric and her cousin Erica, the two girls that were murdered in Iowa, and you look at that same exact sort of what I'm trying to say is where you get effectively trapped when you're in the middle, because here you got a fence on each side of the trail for those girls. They were only, I think, 10 and 12 or something like that, and little Lyric and I think Erica's the other one. Excuse my my memory is not doing that, but I do remember the setup when Mr. Steve went there. You got water. You have a water feature on one side. You have a highway on the other side, and a fence as a corral in between those things. Steve, correct me if I'm wrong. Now, if you put something or someone on both ends of those, what you have effectively is a cattle chute. Christ's sake. Mommy Wolverine says, Farmer, I love rebellion.
You're a rebel, man. You're a rebel.
Bellies. Well, you know what? I've known Greg Erb for a long time. He's a good man, so I love Bellies too. I know every pizza guy in town, Mommy Wolverine, because I've been working in the pizza business for 35 years in this town.
Steve?
I've controlled multiple full-grown men with evil intent on numerous occasions, and I wouldn't want to be on the bad side of you in that mood, Mr. Steve. I swear to God, I wouldn't. As nice as you are, you would... It's like one of these wrestlers. You don't know what's going to happen, and your knee's broken the next second. You're just like crying. You're crying. You look like a kidney bean on the ground, all in the fetal position, crying because Mr. Steve had to whoop your ass. Anna Lizette says, statistically, according to FBI records, 2 children taken at once is rare. Maybe not 2 females in general. Zion, Illinois, Delphi, Evansdale equal 3 rare cases of young girls taken 2 at a time. Look, I'm not saying it happens all the time or how rare or what even rare versus not rare means, but it does happen. And not just like once every 10 years, whatever that means, in my opinion. You're right. I don't have the stats on it, so I can't effectively back that up. Bogey 708 says, to Anna Lizette, I believe it was True Crime Jesus that pointed that out. Whatever that was, probably was him because he was an incredibly good creator.
We have a troll here, Farmer. So
we do, really?
Yeah, Castle Worry. So he says that I'm grifting on the case. But so sorry.
Who's grifting? I have a free show. I haven't made 1 penny. I don't charge anything. I'm just down here to talk. Really, I don't even have my PayPal or nothing up. So grifting usually indicates a financial process is taking place. So whoever's saying that's just slandering somebody, honestly.
Trolls happen, man. What can we say?
Well, I'm just letting them know their troll didn't work because they were ineffective in their argument. And the first thing is, if you're going to be an effective troll, have an effective argument. Otherwise, you just sound like a fucking moron. Move on.
I agree. Lily
says, Don Spain, I agree. The defense should have addressed the phone in 2017. I think they would have got the geofence data in with the phones on there, but Gall ruled it out. I just don't know why they would rule out that geofence data unless it was bad data. And if it wasn't bad data, why rule it out? That doesn't seem fair to the process. I don't know how that works.
So
I was just challenging Sub Rosa. Okay, man, people are allowed to challenge around here as long as they're not disrespectful. As far as it's not my channel, but I might, I don't give
if that's the case, sorry for the misunderstanding. Okay, so sorry for that. Of course, don't forget to hit the like. Don't forget to share.
I contend that this equipment's expensive. I don't think you should hit anything. If you want to gently depress that like and share button, pass it on to somebody that you love. If you like this show, if you think it's worthwhile, then Cryptex will probably appreciate the exposure. I, on the other hand, don't.
Because you don't want. You should go on your channel, man, to do some content. You're great.
Care. I like to do it as a creative process. I really like coming on here, and I don't have the proper equipment to do it the way I want to do it. I don't have the ability to produce well. You produce a show so much more effectively than me. I think I sound better on this show than I ever sound on my own show.
I have the same equipment as you, a computer, a camera, and your voice is great, man. And your charisma is great when you're here, man. Look, 60 people.
60 at one time?
It's a record, I think.
That is a record.
No, every time you're here, thank you, man.
You might be freezing up a little bit, Crip, a little bit. Yep, there you are. Yeah. You're back. Good.
If I'm frozen, you can read the comments or something like that. Sometimes my internet is bad.
Yeah. Thank you. No, I plugged right in tonight. I got it direct wired. Anna Lizette says there's supposed to be a new law in Indiana that disallows geofencing evidence. Well, if that's the case, maybe then it's not solid, and it's maybe putting innocent people in harm's way of being considered guilty. And I think that's just as terrible as people getting away with shit. It's like this, I'm a Libra, so it's got to balance out right, justice versus rights. But that doesn't mean you get to get away with murdering 2 kids.
No.
Heather Swenson says, I think the similarities with Evansdale and Delphi are something to explore, and many people have, through the years, thought the same exact thing, and there's nothing wrong with feeling that way.
I think I asked Steve from True Crime Web about that, and if I remember well, he said that it's unlikely. And Steve is investigating that case with Rokus. So he did a couple of shows about Evansdale. He knows a lot about that. So we can go and check those videos from Steve.
They're quite excellent. Yeah, they're quite excellent videos, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Steve.
Steve from True Crime Web says, I've worked with multiple cold case families. 90% of them want creators like Cryptex to bring awareness to their cause. Much respect to Cryptex. I agree, Steve. Cryptex is a not only a good broadcaster, but he has a good heart. His intentions are going the right direction, and he's a pretty good producer with this stuff, and I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
And it's an honor to be on a show anytime you ask me.
It's an honor to have you here, Farmer, and thank you, Steve. Thank you for your words. Appreciate that.
Sub Rosa says the only people who don't think that this person is a grifter are his. Oh, I see. Oh, okay. I see what was going on there. I thought, well, guys, it's just a lot of name calling at some point. We don't want to. Everybody's got their own thing to do, and I equate it to walking into a voting booth. You don't need like 10 or 12 of your friends with you to sort of tell you what to do in that process. You just know what to do automatically.
Go, Anna Lisette.
Anna Lisette says, Evansdale and Delphi are not connected, period. Important the public not believe Evansdale is solved because Delphi is. I think that's really a great point, Anna Lisette. Thank you for being probably the best point maker all night again. Evansdale offender is still on the loose. Thank you for bringing that up. And Cryptex, maybe we should do a show to bring awareness to that some night. Do a little research,
Maybe we can invite Steve if he agrees, because he knows a lot about that. This is gonna
Well,
be.
I agree. We should have maybe talk to him behind the scenes or something. And this always cracks me up. This part of the process is if he's not, watching. But Steve does point out that Anna Lizette makes a point in saying you are correct. The risk to the community still exists. Thank you, Steve, for backing Anna Lizette up on that. Heather Swenson, thank you so much for the super sticker.
Yeah, thank you so much, Heather. Appreciate it.
Linda K. Johnson says, Cryptex, you have an analytical brain. Carter's weird words and phrases make sense when Rob Ives' comments is taken with the knowledge that Libby's blood was still pooling. Okay, point noted. Simdal says, I feel the Evansdale girls were lured by someone familiar to them. A lot of times, percentage-wise, that's true. I'm not going to put out any information on that, even theoretically, because I just don't know enough about that case, and I'd be ignorant in saying so.
Did you watch the documentary Taken Together about Evansdale farmer?
No.
Was really good. But there are some criticism because they try to conclude that they know who the killer was, and that's like in the same sense of Anna Lisette's comments.
I'll tell you what I watched. I watched Mr. Steve go to the scene. I watched him stand on one side of a corral and say, imagine if someone else was on the other side, how impossible it would be for them to swim through a pond or run out into a major highway. That's what I watched. Those are facts on the ground. I don't like documentaries. I don't like condensing things into a predetermined amount of time. I refuse to watch whatever that channel is that has a 23-minute dramatized version of somebody's life. I don't think that's fair. I don't think you can say that everyone has a condensed life that fits exactly into a 23-minute can. Personally, I won't support it.
There are good documentaries.
I'm sure there are. And documentaries are different, though, than a half-hour program that makes a point nightly to over-dramatize people's worst events in life.
Yeah, 100%.
That's grifting, in my opinion.
It is.
Okay, Bogey 708 says the dates on Evansdale and Delphi are against all odds. That means that people still win the lottery every week. Agreed. Anna Lizette, Bogey 708, lots of dates. Lots of dates will reverse more than we think. There are some coincidences, but there are also arguments against those coincidences being so special. Indeed, if anyone looked into the JFK Abraham Lincoln coincidence set list, they would know that.
Look at this comment from Sub Rosa.
Who would play Farmer and Cryptex on a made-for-TV Delphi docudrama? First of all, what parts will we be playing? Would we be web sleuths? And who would play me?
Bruce Willis.
Doesn't Bruce Willis have Alzheimer's?
I think so. Yeah.
That's not a and no offense, Bruce, but I'm just not sure if you're going to nail the details on my life right now. Take a break. Junior says 3 skeleton brothers from Michigan. You know what? I have heard of this case, actually. Doesn't get a lot of attention. They went missing on Thanksgiving, 19 miles from Junior, and I don't believe they've been found to this day. Junior, am I wrong on that?
I don't know about that case.
And the dad, I believe, is the one that was, well, I don't want to say that out loud without knowing for sure. Junior, you sound like you know a little bit more, so I'd wait for your answer on that. Sub Rosa says, I want to see Benicio del Toro play Cryptex. Totally.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Me too. I love Benicio, by the way. Great actor.
He's incredible.
Yeah, he is.
Heather Swenson says, I'm actually torn about the verdict. The case still bothers me all. The unanswered questions, the crappy law enforcement work. I think I don't know, it's Bridge Guy, but it must be Richard Allen. Maybe that means Allen. But there's a lingering hole. And I think there is a lingering hole.
Yeah, we don't know the whole story here. Anna Lisette.
Maybe an understatement. Anna Lizette says Junior Johnson skeleton, I think, like Red Skeleton. Yeah, right. didn't their dad take them? That was what I just overly speculated without having my knowledge correct, but that's what I remembered. Simdal says Sub Rosa, Morgan Freeman as Cryptex. Nice.
That's funny, man.
Todd, Sub Rosa, what are you talking about? Cryptex is Benicio. I agree.
Benicio is Cryptex.
Yeah, well, right. He takes lessons from you. Lily says, I think if RA was a sexual predator, it would have been on more devices. It's an addictive, obsessive behavior generally. I mean, I have nothing that I would say I disagree with you on, but maybe he didn't keep those devices, or maybe it was a one-time encounter that was supposed to be sexual that just didn't end up the way he wanted it to, and he didn't know how to. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to speculate on that, but just overall, I don't understand. Was he robbing them then? I mean, he killed them in a robbery. Like, what was it if it wasn't sexually motivated? Sorry, maybe you can fill me in. I know it's not good to predetermine someone's sort of, but didn't in this confession say he was intending on doing something like that? If everyone's so intent on using those. Mark and Betty, good evening from the UK. Good evening. Right now in the UK, you guys, it's getting late over there. It's almost midnight. Time for tea, sweeties. Lily Shaw says, Mark and Betty, hello, UK here too. Lily, goodness. Constant comment. It's a very fine tea. Lily Shaw, farmer, you're right. 2 times the speed has made me crazy and a bit annoyed. Ah!
What time is in UK right now? I think it's late.
It'd be about 20 minutes to midnight.
Really?
If I got my sleuthy time clock right in my head.
They're still talking about the skeleton. The father.
Well, that must be okay. Okay, that's right. Junior says that he was the one that brought it out there. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, that was a sad case. I do remember three little brothers. You know, I think it's pretty clear that it probably didn't have a good outcome, and that recovery really is what you're hoping for at that point. But justice, I do think needs to be served there, and maybe something that somebody could look at in one of these here communities sometime soon.
Analyze it again.
Anna, possibly the Delphi offender has stalked the trails over time, fantasizing about what he'd do if he found a girl or two at the south end of the bridge. Possible, certainly plausible, and possible. Most likely, in my opinion. Once again, Anna Lizette. She's got to come on the show sometime. You got to come on the show sometime. You're good. You got a lot of good comments.
Yeah, I told her. She needs a channel.
No, you don't have to. I mean, I get it. It's not for everybody. And I didn't even know it was for me. I mean, I told you could ask Mr. Steve. You could ask Marvin Frank. You could ask Sleuth. Actually, Sleuth I called right away. We just had a connection. But I really didn't want my own channel. I just kind of enjoyed going on other people's initially. And so making my own channel was sort of a secondary thought, which I still do enjoy. Sub Rosa, Rick's daughter, testified that she had walked to the end of the bridge with Rick a few times. So he certainly would have known how to cross it.
Even drunk.
Well, I mean, what if he, first of all, only at 5'4", he's supposed to be he drinks what, 2 out of a 6-pack? I mean, he wasn't wasted. Come on. True Crime says Kate B depends on the ruse and so many variables to determine lone wolf for Evansdale. Regardless, when identified, links can be made to others if co-offenders exist. And I think that's an important point to make, to always be on the lookout for those connections, whatever that means on that sort of regional and local level where you may have a bit more knowledge about that night than, say, somebody speculating, in my case, across the country, on the internet. In Steve's case, we're talking feet on the ground. He can say whatever he wants.
What time is Steve going live?
Is he going live tonight?
Yeah,
Stevie going live tonight?
I think so. So I'm just want to check to not to mess with his live, and I want to be there.
Yeah, well, I want to watch it anyways. Probably.
I think it's in 20 minutes.
I mean, we've been on for how long have we been on right now? How long have we been doing this? Almost 2 hours.
1 hour 40 minutes. We can do maybe 20 minutes more. What do you think?
Holy shit! You think I can handle that? Okay, go ahead. Bring it on.
The man.
Let's
You're
do
the
it.
man.
Bring it. Here we go. Anna Lizette. I'm a writer. and I've done radio and public speaking, but at this time I have a speech pathology from too many migraines. It comes and goes. Interesting.
Wow.
I would say you had the cadence of both a public speaker and a writer in your comments, and I picked up on something like that. And thank you for taking time to write comments to us at all.
I wrote a couple of books also in Spanish.
You did, really?
Yeah, I stopped writing.
Pretty sure I wrote the word Slayer on the high school bathroom wall in 1987.
Mark and Betty.
That's what Mark and Betty says. I'm cooking sausage and bacon and listening. Why don't make it a triple, throw some ham on there, and you got me over for dinner.
Look at Simdal.
Simdal, being 5'4" is a crime unto itself, really. I mean, that's mean. True Crime Web, members only. You do you. Nice. I like Steve's attitude on that. I'm a member, however, and I actually watch the show, Steve.
Yeah, me too.
I just re-upped my membership today, as a matter of fact, with your show. Yeah. Anna Lizette, if RA told some truths, I'd guess he'd minimalize some things and that he had more than 3 beers, in my opinion. I don't know, when you're comparing beers to murder, if that's really a minimalization. I'm not sure why you would bother lying about that. And I don't know if I would even consider that minimizing, like what suddenly the temperance movement is more satisfied with him. I don't know.
Because allegedly he went to some grocery store.
I'm just only contending that that's not a minimization. To me, a minimization is like not sounding like a sex predo when you've already been that person.
No, and it's not a minimalization because that could alter the timeline, because if I remember well, he went to a grocery store to buy beers. So if he didn't go from the house of his mother directly to the bridge, that changed the whole timeline. So he can say, I stopped here to buy a beer. That took me 10 minutes. So your timeline that doesn't work. So it could be a good lie. You know what I mean? I don't know if I explaining myself.
You explain that perfectly. I understood exactly what you meant. Yeah. That's for sure. Okay, next comment from Don't Hate Create. Hey, Steve, can you unblock me, please? Uh-oh, ding dong.
Come on, Steve. Big Fish is the best.
Kate B, True Crime Web. I thought it was weird the FBI said they believed the Evansdale girls were still alive weeks later. I don't have anything to say about that. I mean, I don't know what Steve thinks about it, and I don't like speaking for professionals, that's for sure.
Okay, we have an answer from Steve.
Big Fish, Small Pond. What happened? Mod, me, or Mrs. Steve? Well, there's always an investigation somewhere, Mr. Steve, to be solved. I'm not so sure that this one serves you any good to get into.
It was a while ago.
Lily says, I love Farmer and Cryptex together. I love us together too. Chocolate and peanut butter.
Me too.
Anna Lizette says, if RA had an alcohol problem, couldn't control his intake, that's also embarrassing. Plus 3 beers in a man does not necessarily equal drunk. I mean, I agree. Pretty sure I could drink 3 beers right now and not be drunk. But I don't drink often. I really don't drink often. I may be a little more drunk than I would think that I would be on 3 beers also.
Perfect. I think we are okay. Again, Simdal.
We caught up?
Yeah, we caught up.
Oh, nice. I feel satisfied.
I think that's it, Farmer, for tonight.
Hey, I'm gonna go make another cup of coffee and decide, I guess, where the rest of my night's going. I'd like to catch a little bit of the members live for Mr. Steve if I can.
Yeah,
if not, it was an absolute honor to have him here with us tonight, even in chat for a little while. His time is valuable, and his insight runs deep, and it's always appreciated here. As far as the rest of chat. There's a lot of names here, folks, that you guys are showing up 2-3 times in a row. I want to say thanks for that. That to me is the best endorsement you could ever give. I don't need money. I don't need likes. I don't need subs. Just you guys showing up here at all and supporting Cryptex's channel makes me happy. Go ahead, Cryptex.
No, thank you, Farmer. Thank you for being here again. I enjoyed too much the conversation. The chat was awesome.
It was
thank
really
you, Todd. Thank you, Todd, for being the challenging man here tonight. Great comments.
Certainly.
And hit the like, guys. And if you want to go watch Steve, he's great. Thank you, guys. Stay in touch. See ya.
Take care. We'll see you next time.
You too. Ciao.
Thank you.